We're going to jump right into a topic that is more than just uh, advanced e-commerce. Frankly, it's becoming the tools of the trade. It's the stakes to entry, as it will, and that is doing more than just selling your B2B customers something online. It's becoming a much more value-added world. Particularly, our speakers have talked long and in detail about the complexity of B2B transactions, yet more and more, as we talked about, the digital buyer is very demanding. He or she wants a lot more value add user experience brought to them and how they want it brought to them. And I can think of no better individual and no better company to address that than MSC Industrial Supply. And MSC Industrial Supply does not just help its customers find and purchase products online. These days, it is critical to keep digital buyers loyal and coming back at the same time to better serve who they are, what they want, when they need it, and frankly, how they want to come and do business with you. So MSC is all about delivering a new series of value-added tools and services that will help organizations operate more efficiently and profitably across their digital channels, if you will. So in this session, we are pleased to welcome Faisal Hussain, who is in the trenches doing this for MSC. And Faisal, welcome to the program. And let's jump right to it if we could.
Thank you, Mark, for the humble introduction. I'm really humbled and super excited about this opportunity to share some thoughts.
As I mentioned, this is not just stuff that big companies are doing these days. This is table stakes for if you're going to do B2B commerce right. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. You got to think about how do you become more of a partner to who your buyer is, and you guys are doing that. So can you tell us about the digital transformation that MSC is doing in this regard? How that came about?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you go back in the past, e-commerce has been one of our strengths at MSC, right? It represents about 60% of our sales. The investments in technology that we've made in the past over the years has served us well. However, the competitive landscape has just skyrocketed, right? So what we are trying to do is we're trying to deliver a very unified, consistent, and world-class omni-channel digital experience for our customers. And I can explain what the definition of omni-channel is in the world of MSC because we don't have any retail exposure, right? What this means is creating a very intuitive, exciting, and integrated digital experience across our customers and our associates.
So as I mentioned, these days in B2B commerce, or digital commerce, whatever you want to call it, there are certain things that are much talked about, but frankly, very, very, very hard to do. And one of these things that you hear quite frequently in marketing language, or frankly, in news stories that we do, reports that we do, is I want that B2C experience for B2B. Well, I understand that because we're all rooted in how we shop, our personal lives. So of course, now that we have been cooped up for a year plus, many of us just coming out of it now, we want the same expectations for our digital buying experience for our organization, our business, if you will, as we did for B2B or B2C. I get that, but that frankly is easier said than done, and companies are wrestling with that. So can we talk about that for a sec? If you want to use that analogy, how are you kind of simplifying with that B2C-like experience, kind of what you're doing at MSC?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not the first time I'm hearing this. We all know, right? For the past couple of years, the Forresters, the Gartners, the McKinseys, Bain, BCG, they've all been publishing articles around and the data associated with it that customers, B2B customers, want the B2C experience. I think the expectation has increased, right, around the B2B because in their personal lives, they have been shopping with the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Targets, right? So that means they are doing this with ease and with less friction. And when you come in as a B2B buyer, your perception is, why can't it be that easy? Why do I have to go through the friction of the experience, right? So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect is prior to the pandemic, right? Digital already was becoming very important. We all know that. However, the pandemic has heightened and accelerated the importance of digital and the adoption of online shopping. That means various surveys, as I mentioned earlier, and studies indicate that customer online activities have skyrocketed, right? Whether vertical to vertical, you look at the manufacturing, you look at e-commerce, online shopping, retail, food, restaurants, right? So as this trend continues, right, more and more B2B customers are going to expect the frictionless experience that they encounter in their personal lives.
But if we could take that for just perhaps maybe one step further, which is, the friction you touched about here. So, for instance, where a lot of companies simply don't understand digital commerce on the B2B side is they think that the e-commerce site, the e-commerce app is the be all to end all. If you conquer that world, you've conquered digital commerce. But that's not the point. So, for instance, if you have customers coming in from multiple digital touch points, how do you make that user experience more universal, if you will, easier? The Amazon stuff, when the guy could be doing punch out, go back to EDI, and then, by the way, they're going to come back for a repeat order on the e-commerce site tomorrow. So how do you simplify that? That seems pretty complex to me.
$1 million question, $1 million, and this is where B2B becomes slightly different. So, yeah. as I mentioned earlier, right, the omni-channel. So in our world at MSC, the omni-channel experience, the way we look at it is our North Star or our vision is you should be able to perform a transaction or start a transaction online and finish it offline. Could be EDI, could be API, or could be through telephone, right? Because it brings in the complexity. And you should be able to start a transaction online and offline through a customer and then finish it offline. That parity of customer experience is not going to come just by clickstream path to purchase. It's not. You have to basically enable something called the associate experience or the internal experience for associate, and by giving them the digital tools so that they can perform their tasks in a very similar manner what the customer's expectation is. For example, I'm pretty sure we've shopped at Crate and Barrel or the furniture stores. You've seen over a period of time when you try and do an online a retail purchase, they have iPads, right? That iPad, basically what they're doing is they're proxying into your account and ordering on your behalf. That means that when you go home, you should be able to see that order status when you log in. Everything is transparent, so they're proxying. So basically the associate has been given a tool, right? Rather than going to a green screen and typing in the AS400 codes to perform an order or into an order management system. So the interfaces have been built, right? And more companies are adopting to that experience. Another example, Home Depot, right? Before, if you bought something at the Home Depot store, right, you had to save your receipt. I'm an avid buyer at Home Depot. I spend my weekends over there, and I'm always struggling if I have to return something, I have to look for the receipt. Today, you don't have to save that receipt. If you log in online with your account, Home Depot, you can see the receipt. So you can just print it out or show your phone, and they can perform that return right then and there. So take that and apply it on the B2B side. If you have a complex solution that you want to do, and you were able to put 5 things into the cart, but you don't know what the 6th and 7th is going to be, you're going to pick up the phone. How will the associate know what's in the cart? So that proxy experience, right? Impersonation is probably not the right word, but that proxy experience, that associate experience is just the first step into that journey of building and providing them the tools.
So to ask kind of our next question, maybe a slightly different way, it's like I'm going to call this kind of why are you doing this kind of question. What I mean by that is there are a lot of companies that frankly are not as advanced as MSC. They might be one day, but they're not now. And they are looking to do the transaction side of the business first, because that's where they have to kind of make the move. That's where the resources are, the planning is, the strategy, build the platform, build up the selling, the transaction part of the business. So you're kind of past that. So if we're talking about why it's important to do value-added service, i.e., kind of make your digital customer, you're the partner to them. Why is that? Why do you do that? Isn't it enough just to kind of be a pretty good supplier to what these folks want, when they want it, how they want it? It seems pretty good to me. Why go more? What's in it for you guys?
But yeah, what's in it for us? That's absolutely. So our logo says it, right? Build to make it better, right? So I think traditionally MSC has probably one of the best customer loyalty and stickiness, right? It's because we've been able to provide the customers with trust so that we can save them time, money, make them more efficient, more productive, and more competitive, right? What we're doing is we're taking this to another level. We want to scale our business in such a way that it's led by customers. We want to help solve customer problems, right? And if you start thinking not just from an experience standpoint, make it customer led. Let the customer lead you to what are their pain points, whether it's buying 50,000 SKUs online or actually making a very complex solution, in the world of manufacturing, which could be MillMax or metalworking. So that's key for us, right? We live and breathe that every day, irrespective of the channel, and that's why we've been able to harness, the customer relationships in the past.
Can you talk about maybe one example of what you've done lately to kind of bring a value-added partner kind of service? I mean, we know you folks pretty well, and we could spend an hour just doing a topic on that. But for instance, your milling tool, that might be one. Or I know that you've built out kind of a whole content portal to answer all kinds of things for customers. But could you give maybe one example of what you did and why you did it?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key things that we have launched is our digital supplier experience, right? It's on the supplier side, but it's still, we're enabling our suppliers to actually perform the transactions, which is the third key to this treasure chest, right? That you're going to see where we are going to have immense growth. That means before, you had to manually come and talk to us about pricing, inventory, SKUs, content. We are basically enabling you, opening the door to digital so you can perform that with ease, right? So we're enabling our suppliers to come and transact with us. On the customer side, we're actually, second example, customer side, we're giving them insights into vending. Before, vending was just a machine, and there was a couple of buttons with a screen and you would go, but you would still have to manually go and replenish the SKUs. We're actually bringing that entire experience online.
To take that one step further, how does this come about? I mean, my next question gets into how you determine what these value-added services might be, this whole partnership example. So you just mentioned one, but for instance, I asked a couple of companies this morning, build it and they will come, or you go through a whole litany of customer experience feedback, asking to see what's next. Or if you say, I want to be the value add, the partner, you anticipate or you ask or both. How does that come about? What you're going to do?
It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a hybrid, because you can never be extremely proactive or 100% proactive. It's going to be a reactive situation too. As you can see, you build smaller components, you help them with smaller value add by learning what the customer needs, and then you pivot, right? And that's where the go-to-market strategy and the faster time to deliver comes, right? That's why we're investing in technology platforms. The platforms in the past worked, but did they give us faster time to market? What that really means is, if a customer comes back and says, hey, I need an API, right? Because I can't build that API because I need to be able to upload 10,000 SKUs every month to you, right? And I want to do it in an automated fashion. Or I want to give you a flat file and I just want to upload an Excel sheet. How do I build that in the most efficient manner? And that's the value add that you want to provide to your customers, right? Or their customers' customers. It becomes a little complex when you're you're a distributor and you're also dealing with other distributors who wants to buy the product not for themselves, but for their customers too. So you want to be able to provide them insights, analytics, and give them the tools so that they can perform their jobs better or transactions better. I hope that sort of
I
answered the
think we covered a lot of very quick ground here, but it's the next step of the evolution of B2B commerce we're talking about here, which is you're going to do more than just sell these guys stuff. You're going to figure out ways to help them kind of grow their business, and I think that's going to become, frankly, just one of the tools of the trade. Just one of the points of entry if you're going to do B2B commerce or digital commerce, as I like to call it, kind of right the first way. I would like to thank Faisal Hussain, for helping us today. Thanks to MSC for the fine presentation. And we're about to kind of take on our next topic here. So Faisal, thank you.
Thank you very much.